I will say how much I appreciate being online with you. I appreciate your audience very much because they're looking for self-empowerment to
Yeah.
take power back in this crazy time. And so I want to thank you for letting me have an opportunity to talk to your audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you also. And yeah, what is very important and interesting, I think, is that today people start to acknowledge the presence of various needs for transformation in depths. You know, not like this cosmetic.
No, no.
You know,
From the root up, from the root up.
Yeah, from or deep inside, some people would call it, or
yes.
Yeah, or some, you know, some people call it from up down because they consider this model that the human being is like a reverse tree with the roots in heavens, well, in a higher consciousness and so on, and the branches down. And then if you look at that, but of course, every model fit with the same idea that the transformation has to come somewhere from the essence to the periphery, to the details, not the other way around, as we try now to fix the world problems by fixing the symptoms. Or
well, that's medicine today, trying to help by fixing the symptoms and not solving any of the problem.
yeah, and I think in this domain you're one of the big voices to at least put some sanity in the field there.
Well, it was a surprise to me anyway, because my history was I was conventional cell biologist and teaching the conventional genes control life. But my research on stem cells back in 1967 revealed that it was the environment that was controlling the genes. And this is a complete reversal of the conventional story that says the genes control you. Now we know we control the genes. That's power if you know it. And if you don't know it, you're still a victim. And so I awoke to this and I had to do what you did. I had to go into physics. Otherwise, people don't understand. And I didn't even, I was a cell biologist all those years, and all my colleagues, if you asked them a question about quantum physics, nobody in our community would have been able to answer anything about quantum physics. And yet it is the most valid science on the planet. And if you don't understand quantum physics, then it's very difficult to understand who we are and how we are creating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is the, this is exactly the experience I had growing up. I grew up in a family of scientists, and for me, this scientific environment was everything. But then I started to realize that it has limitations, and it has limitations in the way we see the things. So that is, for me, what was the awakening, and what I've been waiting all these years for people to make a progress in the understanding. Meanwhile, I did practices. This is what I did. I would say, for me, the most important. I did transformations that are meaningful inside, and one of the things that we started now to come out with practical experiences and experimentation, improving the output, the conscious output, to a measurable size. Because one of the problems that we were facing before was the skepticism. Okay, you say that mind over matter, consciousness can do this and that, but let's measure it. And it was never something significant or enough far away from the statistic margin that it could be considered, okay, undoubtful. And that's
I mean, but this is what the placebo effect, when finally science accepted the placebo effect, they were accepting the fact that the consciousness of the individual controlled their biology. But then they let go. They said, oh, okay, fine, placebo, let's go do something else. And they never helped the people understand this.
Yeah, it was kind of an indirect acceptance that the whole paradigm of matter generates consciousness was not valid, where they invalidated it through that. But Yeah, well, in a certain way, I think now we are bridging this big gap. I hope, at least.
Well, I think biology is finally beginning to do this, not fully telling the world, but in the science level, the concept of epigenetics is basically that the mind is controlling our genetic activity and our
Yeah,
behavior. And the public is still thinking that genes are controlling this, but
yeah,
that makes them victims because, as far as they know, they didn't pick the genes. And if they don't like the character, they can't change the genes. And then we add genes turn on and off by themselves, which then immediately makes a person a victim
yeah.
of their heredity. Their genes are controlling their life. And then they give up power because they say, I have no power. And then they look for somebody else to give them power.
The funny thing is, and I would say this is one of the major blows that people like you gave to the system, is that somehow, I wouldn't say it's purposeful, perhaps it is, but somehow this kind of materialistic view, it serves the few ones which are in power, because everybody else externalize their power for, I don't know, somebody to come and help us, because of course we are not holding the key to our destiny. I was born with these genes, I was born with that body, I was born with that, so I can't do anything. And therefore it's somehow a strange fit between the interest of the power and the concept of being the victim. And that's why this kind of research and this kind of proof that is not true, you're in control, your choices define your status of health, your destiny, basically, that is giving a blow to the entire system. Because why shall I hope for somebody else to help me before I help myself?
Well, again, that's the whole problem right there, is because knowledge is power. We agree. And then I say, but a lack of knowledge is a lack of power. What you don't know disempowers you. And the new science of epigenetics and the older science of quantum physics, both of them agree that consciousness is creating this life experience. And quantum physics is the most valid science. So, if we're creating our life experiences, then why are we having so much trouble when everybody's supposed to be the creator?
Yeah, but and this is where actually your research meets this research I'm representing here
Yes.
today, because you see, we say our consciousness can even edit the gene structure.
Yeah.
The quantitative effect, you see, there are always two, let's say, sides: the qualitative effect, and that we proved, and then is the quantitative effect, which in quantum mechanics we already have it talked about for 80 years almost, because we said, yeah, at a subatomic level, particles are weird, they do all kind of funny stuff, they travel in time even, but at a normal level, everything is Newtonian, everything is civilized, everything is. So then, of course, it make you wonder. That was one of my first questions when I encountered this level of understanding. When I was a student in university, I was troubling my teacher with this question a lot. I was asking, okay, can you explain me, where did you put that limit? And who put that limit? I mean,
Yeah, that was to keep, when the new physics came in, let's go back and say 1927, new physics today. I
okay,
say
yeah.
every physicist that was here was already Newtonian physicist. And then
Yeah.
one day you say, okay, that's not really how it works. But all the physicists were in the same group and they
Yeah.
couldn't accept it. So they made excuse, it only works at the atomic level
Yeah.
or the solar system level, but it doesn't work at the people level, because that
Exactly.
way they could keep their story and keep their science and still use it, even though that was made up.
No.
It was just people saying that.
What was interesting for us, for a group that I work with already now, it's 3 decades. And now we're coming out with some very interesting findings, was, as I mentioned, the quantitative effect. And here I really hope that we will bridge with you and your researches and all this, because what we found out is that that threshold where you have the, let's say, limit where quantum mechanics become classic mechanics, if you want, yeah, that limit is proportional to the conscious output. Practically, our consciousness is the one determining if things go in a certain way, or when consciousness is not present, there are some automatic mechanisms in place, like a fail-safe mechanism.
Yeah.
So and then we prove the following: when we start to take over consciously a certain process, and the only thing that we prove time and again was when the researcher observes particles, the researcher can determine how the particle behave. Particles. If it's clusters of particles, groups, if it is tissues, for instance, yeah, that doesn't work. Then we were wondering, is it possible if you increase the output, the conscious output of the observer, will it influence the quantity of the influence that is there? And the answer is surprisingly yes. But what was missing until now, I mean, until now, it was here for thousands of years, but we didn't make the correlation, is how do one increase the conscious output? What is conscious output, first of all? What does the consciousness do when we become aware of something?
Yeah.
Which we can call it the conscious output upon that thing that you become aware of through the senses, for instance, through the sensorial perception. And then we started to look back into this all kind of classic texts of yoga, of meditation, all these elements. And then we figure out that actually all they're talking about essentially is how to train the output of consciousness, the conscious output.
Yes, exactly.
And that, I'm sure, now I'm speculating, but it's your domain. I'm absolutely, I'm convinced that with a trained conscious output, one can obtain bigger impact upon genome and other elements of his or her physiology, measurable much more than a person with a lower output of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's my assumption, because we prove it with other instruments. For instance, modifying this quantum field of events in a very, very clear manner. We also proved the following: you can consciously induce states to your brain to a level that is impossible from a medical perspective. We have it recorded. I can share with you another time the results of that. And that is like, medically, a person cannot induce such a state into the brain without total damage. And yet we have the subjects, we have it filmed, we have it, people are conscious, lucid, and yet they can induce amazing states completely different than normal, so to speak. But with training, that's the thing. It's not something that is happening in a normal, average person without the training. And I think this is where we need now an input. So on one hand, we discovered our biology is edited by our consciousness. We discovered that the field of events in us, intention, is determining the outcome, even the random events, so to speak. And these experiments with random number generators are showing that clearly. So practically we show that. And then we come with a set of, let's say, practices, principles, exercises, which can lead to a stronger output of consciousness. And these two domains, I think, will catch in the middle the reality of consciousness and will make it impossible to avoid. That's my hope.
Well, it's exactly what it is, and it's a level of physics. the whole part that's difficult for the world to understand is in quantum physics, it says there's no such thing as matter, that everything is energy. Well, try to explain that to people who live in the world of matter. They're physical, their house is physical, their job is physical, everything, and then tell them that doesn't exist. They have a little bit of a problem. Take that and put it in their head. But the fact is, every atom, when you take it apart and you get down to like the protons, neutrons, electrons, and you take those apart, then you get the quarks and things like that. But you take them further apart, there's nothing physical inside those particles. It's an energy vortex I call nano tornado, spinning energy.
Yeah.
Okay. And energy, to give an example, energy is waves. Okay. So when you drop a rock in the pond, you get all the ripples. That's the waves of the energy shaping the water. And then I tell people, I show them a picture of rain falling on a pond. And you see every raindrop makes ripples. Everyone's making ripples. And I said, but notice one thing. All the ripples are connected. There's no place where one set of ripples is not connected to everything else. So the first thing is this. Everything is energy. Everything is ripples. Everything is waves. Yeah, but everything in the universe is waves, and there's no separation because waves don't have edges. They just go on. So the thing that you're trying to say is, number one, we are connected to everything. There's no human that's not connected to the world around them in every way. Then in physics, we also talk about something called interference. When two ripples are coming together, what happens when they meet, two sets of ripples? I said, well, there are two extremes. Two small ripples in harmony can come together and make a bigger ripple. The height of the ripple is energy. So that means two low energies, but in harmony, come together, they make more powerful energy because the ripple is bigger. Yeah. It's like you drop a small rock in the pond, you get a little ripple. You drop a big rock in the pond, you get a bigger ripple. So the height is energy. I say, so two energies can come together and add up and make more energy. That's called constructive interference. But I also say two energies that are not in harmony come together, they can cancel each other. There's no energy. That's destructive interference. The point about it is this: the energy waves interact, that's for sure. Some waves make things bigger, some waves make things smaller. Okay, then I say this. We used to think that our mind, our consciousness is trapped inside our head. And we could read it when we put wires on the head called electroencephalograph, EEG. I said, yeah, we're reading the brain activity inside. But there's a newer device. It's called magnetoencephalograph, not electroencephalograph. Magneto reads the magnetic brain. I say, what's it doing? It's reading the same brain function. I say, yeah, but what's different? The probe is out here. I say, the probe doesn't touch you. I say, so what does that mean? I say, your thoughts are not contained in your head. Your thoughts are vibrations going out into the field. And I go, okay, now take the physics and say, if your vibration's in harmony with something, then you enhance that one. If your vibration's not in harmony with something, you could cancel that one. Then I say, so where are your vibrations coming from? Your thoughts. Then I say, but are your thoughts positive or are your thoughts negative? It makes a difference how those thoughts, when they go from your head and go out into the world and connect with all the other ripples, what's going to happen? So the idea is now recognized from physics that the energy vibrations are 100 times more efficient in information than is a chemical drug. So basically it says you can use chemicals to affect you. Or I said, yeah, but your consciousness of the energy field 100 times more valuable, more powerful in affecting you. So your thoughts are not contained in your head. They're interacting with the world. Your thoughts can cause some things to show up and cause other things to go away. If you have negative thoughts, then the only thing that is in harmony with a negative thought is something that's negative. So when you send out a negative thought, the thing you're going to activate in the world, there's something good here, there's something negative here. You send out a negative thought, you activate this one. You don't activate this one.
And the good one doesn't even exist for you.
Nope, because it's not on the same energy level. We don't even see it. And this is what physics, the most valid science, says. Consciousness is creating our life experience. I go, yeah, because when we broadcast the energy field, we cause some energies to get more powerful, and we cause other energies to get less. If you're thinking positive thoughts, then only positive things that are in harmony will activate because they have the same vibration. But if you're thinking negative thoughts, it's not the same vibration as positive. It doesn't affect positive. Negative thoughts only affect negative things. And then that comes to your insight, your knowledge. What is my thought taking me? I go, it's not an accident. This is physics. This is quantum mechanics. This is energy wave interaction. And this is so important because people don't even believe in the waves. They just believe that we're just physical things out here. And you say, you missed the whole story.
Yeah.
Because the story is not in the matter, the story is in the energy. And that's why your work is so important, because you're trying to get a change of belief system. Let's change that belief that you grew up with because you were programmed.
Yeah.
And I'll just finish this and give you
Yeah,
that
sure,
shot.
sure, sure. No, don't.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
The human brain is a computer. It has all the same functions as a computer, but it's the most powerful computer on the planet. Okay. And I say, so what? And I say, well, it's like a computer. I say, you could go to the store, buy a brand new computer and bring it home. And you could push start and it boots up. The screen is lit. I say, now do something. You say, well, if I don't have a program, I cannot use a computer. So I say, the first thing you do is you have to put programs in the computer, and then you can use the keyboard and put your information in. But if you don't have a program, you can't use it. The child's brain, in the first 7 years, the vibration is not conscious vibration, it's lower vibration called theta. Theta is hypnosis. So a child is in hypnosis for 7 years. I go, why? Because he has to learn 1,000 rules, how to be a member of a family, how to be a member of a community. There are rules. And I say, how's a child going to learn 1,000 rules? And I go, nature made it simple, said, you're on record. Just watch your mother, watch your father, watch your brothers and sisters, watch your community, because by watching them, you will download the behavior that is the behavior of family and community. Well, it's a good idea, except if you're copying somebody who has a bad program, then you got a bad program because you just copied them. And all of a sudden it says, and here's the biological problem. You ready? Right here. The mind is two minds. They work together, but they're separate minds. The conscious mind, the latest evolution, is the connection of your spirituality, your identity, your energy field, and it's creative. Conscious mind is creative. It's got your wishes, your desires, create. Subconscious mind is hard drive. It's just got programs in it. And most of the programs, as I said, you got them from watching other people. It's not you. They didn't have what you wanted in their life. You just copied their behavior. How are you going to find what you want when their behavior doesn't give you that? You become what they are. This is how disease is transmitted in a family. People think like genes cause a disease. Fact, there is not one gene that causes cancer. Then where the heck is the cancer coming from?
Bad habits.
Vibration of the energy of the consciousness is not in harmony with life. Remember, I said some vibrations enhance the energy, some vibrations cancel the energy. Negative thinking can cancel your vitality. Negative thinking can cause any disease, even dying, just because you think so. And so there's physics that says the energy is shaping the world. Then there's biology that says, well, you have two minds, conscious creative, subconscious program. And then here is now finally the problem for people. You ready? And the problem is this. The conscious mind, which is creative, can think. I go, so what? I say, thinking is not looking out. Thinking is inside. If you have a thought, you're not going to see it looking out. You have a thought, you have to go inside. I say, well, let's say the body is a vehicle like a car with a steering wheel. And I say, when the conscious mind has got their hands on the wheel, it's going to drive you to the wishes and the desires. But when the conscious mind is thinking, it's not looking out the window. It's looking inside. I said, really, in real life, you're driving a car and you start thinking. Guess what? You're not looking at the road anymore with a conscious mind, because here's the point. Subconscious mind is autopilot, meaning if you're not paying attention, the subconscious mind will take over. The subconscious mind knows how to drive a car. That's you practice. That's how you got a habit. So when you start thinking, the subconscious takes over. Now, here's the problem. If you are thinking, you're not looking out. I go, yes. I say, now your behavior is coming from subconscious. I go, yes. Psychologists tell you 60% or more of the programs, disempowering programs. I say, will you see when you're playing your subconscious program, will you see it? I say, no. I say, why not? Why are you playing subconscious program? Because you're thinking and you're looking inside. So whatever behavior is coming out, you're the only one who can't see the behavior. Everybody else can see your behavior. You can't, because your conscious mind is thinking. The behavior is automatic program. And I say, why is it a problem? I say, well, consciousness is creating your life. If you have positive consciousness, you create a positive life. If you have programs that are negative, then you are going to play those programs. And here's the number. 95% of the day is the amount of time the subconscious programs control our life. 5% of the day, the conscious programs, wishes and desires control our life. So, conclusion, we're not creating the life we want. We're creating the life the program gave us. And the Catholics, the Jesuits, have known for 400 years. They've told their followers 400 years. They said, give me a child until it is 7, and I will show you the man. They knew whatever program goes in that 7 years, 95% of your life is that program.
Yeah.
And I say, the Jesuits are not the only one that know that, because over time, all the technology and everything and the way people are controlling each other is they control that 7 years. When you see a child who can hardly walk carrying an iPad, you're looking at programming.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The idea is, are we creating our lives? I say we are, but you're not creating it with wishes and desires. That's only 5%. 95% you're creating from program, and most of those are self-sabotaging or limiting beliefs. And I go, well, then if you create a life with that, then you're not going to have the life you want. And if you stop thinking, see, only play the program when you're thinking. So let me just, so I'll conclude here, because this is a really cool part.
No, because you already put a very interesting alignment with exactly the results of our research, please.
Exactly. So this is the physics of biology side. And it says, guess what? When people fall in love, they stop thinking. They stay, the word is mindful. I am mindful. I am present. What does that mean? I'm not thinking. I go, well, if you're not thinking, then you're not playing the program. I go, yeah. I say, if you're not thinking, you're using your conscious mind, you can create what? Wishes and desires. And I go, that's why when people fall in love, they have honeymoon. I say, what's honeymoon? Heaven on earth. I go, that wasn't an accident. They created heaven on earth. Why? They stop playing the program. But when the program starts again, because they start thinking, the honeymoon goes away. Because now your life is not controlled by wishes and desires. When you start thinking, your life is controlled by program.
Bruce, I'm very happy for what you said, because it completes very, very beautifully this part of research that we did. Because indeed, now we took these facts. We took these facts, the 95% over 5%.
Yes.
And then we worked on two parts of this, let's say, problem. Yeah. On one side, we said, is it possible to change the proportion 95 against 5% to, let's say, 50-50?
Well, that's a choice.
No, because it's not a
Oh,
choice for most of the people.
oh,
That's the problem.
no, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. You're very right. It's not a choice because they don't even know
Exactly.
what percentage is coming from where. So they have no idea in the world what we're talking about.
No, but you are already told that you are consciously accessing 5% of your brain capacity, they say, which is exactly how much of the processes consciously you are doing in life. But then
Yes.
we took this percentage and we said, first question was, is it possible to change the proportion so that, let's say, a person can go 10% conscious living and 90% subconscious? Or, as I said, 50-50. What happens to 50-50? And I can tell you the results were like this. In average, we raised through exercise the average of the group to 24%, the average of the group.
Yes.
But we have people going up to 60% conscious living in the rest of their life, even accessing 90%. We went all the way there, which, of course, this is one of the approach, I would say, which let's say solve this dilemma and will help a lot of people to see palpable results. The second one, you mentioned it very beautifully, is the fact that when people fall in love, they stop thinking, and therefore miracles spring out and practically spring out from within. They are not coincidences. You did it. Exactly as you said, you created the honeymoon, the paradise on earth. It's not something that happens by coincidence or something. It's mathematics.
Yes.
And then we took it as an empiric observation, because of course it's throughout history, throughout all literature, everywhere people agrees with that. And then we said, what if accessing what in some philosophies is called the spiritual heart, or the intuitive part of our consciousness, or whatever. I found in this research, and we did a lot of experimentation with the paradigm, considering not only the physical heart, but everything related to the heart as the brain of the supramind, of the access, or the access point to colonize, if you want, for the lack of a better word, to colonize the subconscious. It's through the heart, we found out.
Yeah.
And the fascinating thing is that through that, you can reprogram. It's like you go on the hard disk and you can replace programs that are there for who knows when. Yeah.
For generations, because it's passed, this program is passed through generations.
Exactly. And then you have it there. It's solid. Like it's in every similar situation, you always react like that, even if you decided, no, next time I'll do it different. Yeah, forget about it. You have 5% control, you will not. So there were two approaches. We said, if you increase the inner horizon and you go from 5% to 25%, then your capacity to shift generally the events in your life and so on is greater. And if you access directly the subconscious through this so-called spiritual heart, you can call it or whatever, then you go there and let's put it like that, you change the program in your terms. And then we did experiments, and it's shocking. We managed to determine physiological reactions, such as, for instance, physiologic reactions to stimuli like pain or pleasure, to reprogram the reaction of the person entirely.
Yes.
Entirely.
100%, I agree with you.
Yeah. But we did experiments with them, and through methodology, they could do that without any other, help. They did it themselves. Even things that medically are not possible to shift. Like, for instance, this kind of physiological reaction to stimuli that you are not even aware of, and therefore your physiology reacts to it. But then the subject is just made aware of, look, it will be this kind of thing. And then you can control different parts of the body and the physiology that normally you have no access to, but you easily have access through this methodology. So we approach it, we caught it in a kind of a double system. We said expanding awareness so that you live a more conscious life.
Yeah.
Hence the increased output of consciousness or awareness. And then on the other hand, accessing the subconscious directly through the so-called heart, which is helping you even to modify certain very destructive programs that will eventually become a disease later. You just eliminated very, very easy. You delete the line, basically. It's not exactly that, but so not people to understand that it's a programming, but sometimes people literally take it literally and they ask, how do you, where is the program? Okay, it's more complex than that. It's not exactly the architecture of computers. Actually, is very interesting. When I was working in the Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Formal Languages, I realized there also, in the same time I was doing intensive training myself in meditation, I realized that the entire technology today, everything we built, including these computers we are using now for our talk and so on, everything is built around the paradigm of materialism, excluding in any possible way the conscious input. But the interesting fact is, if you go down to technology, if you go down to the engineering of the computers that we are using here, the engineers, when they built the microprocessors, they cut, when they produced it, they cut the higher harmonics. You know, when you define, for instance, the waves patterns that the processor is analyzing there, the ones and zeros and so on, they're actually waves, and you cut them in order to look like a 0 and 1. You cut them eliminating the higher harmonics. Now, the higher harmonics are exactly what they say. The higher harmonics are the physical representation, the physical mirroring of a higher harmonic, which is millions of cycles more rapid, but is like the inferior octave or the inferior representation of it. When you cut it from your instrument, the instrument is blind of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we do everything.
Let me give you a science that enhances everything you just said. There's a process, it's called Cook's hookup. I'll explain it. The left hemisphere has more function like intellectual. The right hemisphere has more function like emotional. When you're under age 7, both hemispheres work together. And that is a state of super learning. That's how a child can download things fast. After age 7, the mind separates, not physically, functionally. So at our age, after age 7, sometime we're in the left hemisphere during the day, and 2 or 3 hours later, we're in the right hemisphere, and 2 or 3 hours later, like a wave in and out. Sometimes we're more emotional, sometimes we're more intellectual during the same day, depending on which hemisphere. But if you could put the 2 hemispheres back together again, you get what's called super learning, okay? There's a technique to do that, which is called Cook's hookup. Very briefly, if I could, my right arm is controlled by my left side, okay? But if my right arm crosses the middle, it also gets picked up on the other side. So if you cross your arms or cross your ankles, then you're causing both hemispheres to come back together again. That's a Cook's hookup. It goes something like, I put my arms, I cross them, I go like this, and now I'm engaging both. And this is calming. This is why when people are taking a break, guess what? A lot of unconsciously, they cross their ankles. They're sitting down, but they cross their ankles. That does the same thing. It brings right and left together, calms people down. It's a
meditation posture also, not by coincidence.
Okay, now here's a great story that fits what you're talking about. That when you put a person into this relaxed state, you can put the wires on head, you could read the electroencephalograph, the brain function, it calms down, it's calming, okay? And here's something that changes. They said, if you're in the position and you get calmed down, but you come from your heart, and not from your head, you come from your heart, that a new frequency comes right out of nowhere called gamma. So the frequencies that we're using right now are called beta, that's schoolroom. When you go
Yeah.
home and relax, it's quieter, it's called alpha, calmer. Then just when you go to bed, it goes even lower, theta, which is hypnosis. But peak performance, when a pilot is landing the plane, he's beta until he gets ready to land the plane. Then he goes high vibration, much higher energy, called gamma. Or a sports player playing in a game, when they're in the final game, and they're competing, they go from a higher energy, gamma. And I said, and when people were put into the relaxation state, but they said, come from your heart, not think love with your head, think love with your heart. All of a sudden, gamma comes right out, and gamma is peak performance. So what you were talking about is, if you can get them to raise this energy level up from their heart, it didn't come from the head, came from the heart, to come from bring your love from your heart. The energy level jump up to the gamma, which is peak performance.
Yeah.
We do our best performance as humans when we're in gamma.
Yeah.
And gamma is initiated when you come from your heart, just like you just said. When people come from their heart, it changes the game.
Yeah, and interesting because these in this research that I was talking, and you validated with that thing, the waves that we recorded with the EEG were gamma waves, extremely stable, and that's the interesting fact. In amplitude, they were 10 times, not a little bit, 10 times higher than the same person's alpha waves.
Well, that was it. And energy
so
is
it
life.
It was both an amplitude growth, an amplitude, not a little, up to 10 times. So we have to rescale in order to visualize it, we have to rescale many times the screen, because otherwise it was getting out of the screen. And it was the same person, the calibration for the same person.
Right.
So practically the output was off the chart. And it's true, it was in the gamma area, and it was extremely stable. It was like some people could keep it for 45 minutes continuously straight, but the techniques that we were using were methods to center in the heart. That was the whole set of methods that they were applying every day, where the protocol of the experiment was running. For each of the stage of this experiment, they were doing these techniques every day, and every 7 days we were doing a set of measuring with everyone. And that was actually the purpose of the whole, let's say, program of practice, was to stabilize their consciousness, not in the mind, not in this thinking process, but in the heart, in an intuitive mode of the heart, which is completely forfeiting, shortcutting the thinking. So practically what you said is proving physiologically the result of this methodology, and measured indeed is like people who had an output that was up to 10 times more intense. So the output, the energy, the wave was, And of course, this
it's just simple, because energy is power.
Yeah.
And the higher the waves, the more power you will possess to help create what you want. And that's why bringing those up to gamma, high energy, is like plugging it into the wall, into the socket, and getting a big electric charge. That is powerful, as you said, because you have the data, you have the experiments to reveal how powerful people can become when they get into the gamma state.
Yes, yes, it's amazing, and of course, I would be very curious to see, for instance, how the same training then analyzing the genetic markers. We didn't do such thing. We were not yet teaming up with people like you. So maybe this is the next level, because this will be very interesting, you know, to bridge these two domains, to show, look, from the physiological, biological, quantum mechanics, now we have this much more sophisticated REM machines, and even these analyzers of patterns we can do now, which of course is a great help, because then you can detect patterns into the randomization of these machines. And I have to say the results are extraordinarily promising. Like, for instance, going into activities of groups of people, an activity like, for instance, a business meeting, and you can see kind of, let's say, an average, nothing special, and the same group of people starting to do ritualistic meditation according to some tradition. The interesting part is it doesn't really matter which tradition, which, yeah, give a slap on the face to some doctrines, but that's another for another topic, perhaps. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. All of them give exactly the same amazing result. You can, even if you don't know what they did there, you can follow what they did by the pattern inscribed in the random generators. So,
Yes.
for instance, you can see high coherence in exact moment when the whole event starts. You can see when they finish the first stage, you can see a variation in the coherence there. You can see this. You can, like, everything is underlined by the patterns that exist in practically in the field of random events.
Yes.
Which, of course, it's only interacting the machine with the consciousness of the people in the room, because there's absolutely no other connection. They are put very often in another room, so it doesn't interfere with the somebody to say that it was probably some pheromones in the air or something. There's nothing.
No.
So yeah,
But
what I'm saying would be very interesting also to see how, for instance, constant training in a certain direction, increasing the output of consciousness of a person, and extending the conscious life versus the subconscious life, how that will affect the genetic makeup, so to speak, because I'm sure that this will prove quite spectacular.
I agree with you 100% from a genetics, epigenetics point of view.
Yeah.
This is exactly how the mind is changing the genetics of the body. And it's really so critical. A very interesting fact connected to your story is the group called Heart Math, a group in the United States that connects mind and heart.
Yes.
They were showing that, or it's from satellites, there's energy in the atmosphere. Energy is in the atmosphere. You could read the energy of what's going on. And they found when people became coherent, when a large group of people would have the same thoughts, it changed the energy field of the planet. That you could read it from the satellites, that the energy field changes the more people that share a thought. So like 911, when the Twin Towers got blown up, you could see they were reading the energy of the atmosphere, and it actually about 15 minutes before the tower blew up, the spike started to change. Spike energy changed right away. Princess Diana, when she died, again, the whole world was watching. So there was a large number of people watching the same thing. Again, it changed the energy of the planet at this point. So what you're talking about is profoundly important, because our thoughts are affecting not just our local life, But if we share the same thoughts with a large number of people, we change the planet's life.
Yeah.
And this is what your work is all about. And this is why it's so important that your work gets into the public, to give the public another perception, to look at the same thing I'm talking about from the way you talk about it. We're talking about the same thing,
Yeah.
but two
Yeah.
different directions, but it's the same conclusion.
Yeah. We
The
talk the
more
same,
people
same
that,
reality, but yeah, different parts of it.
yeah, and this is why it's so important that both of our work get out there at the same time, so people can see it's not just one person saying this, but it comes in many different directions, the same result. And that's what people need to change their belief and say, I'm not the only one thinking this. Large numbers of people are doing the same thing. Then that gives them power. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm honored to be with you on this program,
Same.
because your work is doing what I would like to see the planet do: change the belief system and get the power back from the programming that took away the power and put it back into our hands.
Yes, it's thank you for saying that and seeing it, and also all the wonderful work. And that was exactly what Dr. Todd. I know
Oh,
that
Todd Ovakaitis.
yeah, Avokaitis. We know also each other for some years now, and he was telling me this should go out, this should go out, because indeed there are numberless. When I talked to Todd some years ago, I showed him one other result of another experiment we did not many years ago, but some years ago, which was proving something very interesting. We did an experiment with measuring a group of people doing a ritual, doesn't matter, some practice, okay, with the focusing in the same time. Because the idea was a group of people focusing on the same very good uplifting idea. So they were focusing on something. And then we did the same with a group of trained people. We're talking about around 6,000 people participating. So it's not like 3 people and 3 people. We're talking about
it's a large number.
it's large enough to measure something.
Yeah.
And the results were like the following. The trained people, they trained especially for that. So we have to say, because what we wanted to prove is that you can get back an amount of power that it is hard to imagine. And the following is the result. The measurements of the second group, the trained group, was 820 times stronger than the first group.
Yes.
So you can say like this: a group of people thinking randomly is the basic level, society today. Then we took these people and put them to focus on something wonderful for around 1.5 hours with their capacity to focus, which was not trained. And we obtain a clear mark, undeniable jump in coherence.
Yes.
Which you can say is the unit, because these people were not trained. And then we came with the same amount of people, but this time highly trained. And the mark was 800 times bigger than the first group of people, which were just thinking very well, something beautiful, but not trained. What we wanted to show with that was that in the moment when you bring back your power, it's also quantitatively impressive. Not only in a philosophical way, I'm empowered. No, really, you get something amazing. And when you have a phenomena that is amplifying power 800 times, it's already way beyond the statistic margins, any error of instrument or anything. So it's that was one of the things that also when years ago when I showed Todd about that, he was shocked. He was like, whoa, but this should be known. Well, there is also another thing. The collective society today have a kind of a defense mechanism that is preventing dissemination of such information too fast. You encounter kind of resistance because it's much easier to stick in your comfortable bubble there, think materialistic while you play philosophical and quantic. Everybody call themselves quantic something, but who in reality lives in their daily life based on these principles? Not
I
so
think
many.
you are living this way with your partner, aren't you? Aren't you like me, having a honeymoon for years and near 30 years, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Mine is 29 years with my partner, but it never would have happened if I didn't change the programming that I got from my family when I was young, because my parents did not have a good relationship. I downloaded bad relationship, and I couldn't get a good relationship till near 50 years old.
I
When I
think
said, "Oh
we
my
should
God,
have
I
a
got a
double
bad
dating,
program."
Bruce. We should have a double date.
Because we're in the same creative world. We're in the same
Yeah.
world.
No,
We're not victims of the world. You're a creator, I'm a creator. And what our efforts are, and this is why I love talking with you, because our efforts are not just to say, oh, I created my life, I don't care about you. No, our efforts are, we created this life. I want you to create this life too, because if you're happy and then everybody around is happy, I'm in the middle of heaven on earth, and that's what I want to be. But if I
yes.
keep it to myself, then the people around me are crazy. I can't, I want to be in a buffer. I want to be surrounded by people who are like you, so that I'm in a peace. This is a peace world, not the crazy world that we see on TV.
No, it's true. And actually, to share with you my deep belief, deep inside, we're not truly fulfilled until everything is accomplished, not only me as a human being. And that's why what makes me doing these things is I started to realize quite early. I was in the 20s when I started to realize this connection, that I'm not alone in this, that practically the world is reflected in me and me reflected in the world simultaneously. So it's part of us to do this. I don't think I will sleep well in the night if I will not do this every day, so to speak. So the world is calling for it, and everybody has its own purpose. I personally don't deny even other people's right to deny these things, to live in ignorance. Okay,
That's a choice. It's choice. And
exactly.
yet most people, if we stood up and other people stood up and they were next to us and you and I were together, the people, I have a feeling, would say, I want what those two guys have.
Exactly.
Because
That's
their
always.
lives look very happy and fulfilled and healthy and all this. What we are doing here, what we're doing is demonstrating what anybody could do if they understood what we understood. And that's why we both have to go out there and keep, hello, wake up, knock on the door, wake up, because this is a time for you to either take your power back or you're going to be in trouble, because the world is in a state of collapse, because civilization is destroying the web of life. And either
That's
we
also,
change,
I'm glad we are on the same page with that as well, but it was inevitable.
Yeah, but the choice is we can change and bring back the world of harmony and everything, but we as individuals have to change, not wait for something outside to come. We
exactly.
are the creators.
The more we try to fix our problems by fixing the world, the more we mess it up, unrecognizable. That's my experience.
I've learned something very important. There's an old saying, there's a means and an end, meaning there's a way and there's an end. And I realized something important. What I focus on is the end. I don't focus on how to get to the end, because that would be telling the universe, this is how I'm going to get there. And I say, I don't know how I'm going to get there. So I'm going to focus on the picture I like, but I'm not telling the universe, this is how I'm going to get there, because the universe knows better how to get there than me to tell the universe. And so it's important to don't try and say, this is how I'm going to create this. I say, no, Give me the picture you want to create, but don't tell me how you're going to create it. Let the universe help you, because otherwise you're telling the universe. And who are we to tell the universe? So I have to let go and say, I want to go here, universe, so help me go there, but I'm not telling you how to do it. And that's the important part.
Yeah.
Because as you said,
But
we try to fix it. You said we try to fix it. We're trying to tell the universe how to fix it. I say, and
yeah.
you said the exact thing. It got it worse.
we,
They got
we,
worse when
we
we
mess
told
up.
them.
We mess up
So,
the whole thing, and that's where we are now. Indeed, it's one of the clear results that, but we even have the expression, Bruce, we have the expression, the means justifies the end. Like, what are you talking about? It means that practically I can do whatever I like in order to get there. What we do not realize is that if I do whatever I like, I will not get there. I will get somewhere else.
yeah, and if you throw a bad vibration into the world doing what you wanted to do, that bad vibration is in your environment now. You put it out there.
Yeah, and the destination is
You're going to
altered.
pay for it.
You
You're going
cannot,
to pay for it.
you cannot kill and I don't know, do bad things in order for later on to arrive in paradise. No, it's
You know,
crazy.
you and I have understood the simplicity of creating the life, not the complex way of creating life. We don't tell the world how to do anything, but we do tell the world of what we would like. And this is where the power comes from, because the moment, as you mentioned, and I agree, when you try to tell the universe how to do it, it's like, oh, you're smarter than the universe? No, I'm not. I'm going to let the universe tell me, because I know the universe is smarter than I am. And so we have to stop controlling the universe and then just put into motion what vision you want. And your life, your subconscious with that motion will get you the vision without you making the plan. This is the most important part.
Yeah. Oh, the interesting fact, what we find out from the quantum mechanic perspective is that the field of quantum events that we interact with is already in our heart, in the core of our being, already knows the destination. And what we did, another side of experiments, was the following. Fine. I say I want to get there, to that picture that I think is interesting. Good. And I'm disciplined enough not to make a plan. So I hold my horses. I'm not telling the universe, this is my picture, get me there. But then we pushed it even further, and we say, but how about that ideal picture already pre-exists in you? Could it be? Because we started from there are numberless ancient texts that are saying in different words the following: I would have never searched for you if I didn't find you already. Okay, it sounds poetical and it sounds philosophical, but it sounds, for me as a quantum physicist, it sounds quantum physics, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, wait a second, but what if this is true? What if these people were not just poets? What if they were actually onto something? And then we did the following sets of experiments. You think of whatever would you like, and you choose something. And then you act for a while, you allow the universe to bring you there. How is it? Okay, certain level of satisfaction, certain level of fulfillment, things. And then, instead of focusing on what you would like to obtain in that part of your life or that project, you focus just on a very blank slate inside of you, which take training, to perceive reflected in that something that pre-existed inside of you regarding that subject. People find inside already the picture of their perfect paradise. The interesting fact is that picture, which is pre-existing inside of us, of our own paradise, is in perfect sync with the rest of the universe around. practically the rest of the universe agrees with that entirely. Not only agrees, but is giving all the resources, time, energy, and everything, and supports it. And this is where our research meets very much the HeartMath Institute research. My picture of my ideal world, your picture of your ideal world, everybody's else predefined picture of their ideal world is a perfect puzzle of paradise. There is no contradiction between your perfection, my perfection, anybody's else perfection. There is no conflict. It's already predefined. Harmony and perfection, we find out, are predefined in us. They pre-exist within our consciousness. And, you know, this is kind of the next level. First, stop telling the universe how to get things. Just learn to say the word. Okay. And then instead of say the word, focus on find it deep within. Yes. And when you find it deep within, it's in tune with everything else around. And it solves everything in one shot and is sustainable.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that, because this is what we can do. We are powerful, and yet no one believes in that. And if you don't believe you're powerful and belief is what's controlling it, and you say, I'm not powerful, then you are telling yourself you are not powerful and you will not be that way. And that's why your training, to me, is so important, to give people the tools to take that power back and to use that power and stop being the victim, because that means powerless. Victim means definition, powerless. I have no control. And I say, you're the creator. When did you lose control?
Yeah. Yeah, this is wonderful. Thank you, Bruce, for taking time for this. I do hope that we can also connect some research in the near future. And for this, maybe we communicate with the teams and to put together some of the practicalities, because there are a lot of people coming up now with resources, with interest, with things. And I think humanity is ready to see some concrete results more than ever, because a lot of people are waking up and they wake up on the materialistic side of the bed, so to speak. And then we have to give them the first tea, the first thing. Okay, listen, good morning. Here is your first results. Here is something you can touch. Here is something you can do and you can measure. And from there, yeah.
And that is why I appreciate who you are, because I know you are dedicating this not for yourself. You already have your own heaven in your own place, but you want to help the world evolve. And this is why nature will be behind you, because nature wants us to all, be in harmony with nature. And so I want to thank you. I hope people are listening, because I want them to know how much I appreciate what you are doing. Because
thank you so much.
We need the teachers. The teachers need to help the students. And the world population is a student right now. And so your work to me is very important. And thank you for keeping up this work and being a model.
I hope we do it again, also in this format and other.
Yeah.
Good.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much for letting me be with you on this communication. Thank you.
Thank you also. And have a wonderful night. Bye. Bye-bye.